Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Movie Deputy Reviews, where we are interrogating a movie for its plot and content. And movies like the one we're going to be talking about today are why I say that I interrogate movies for their plot and content, because this one, though it has a cute plot that plays on some other ideas that we have seen before, we see that in so many movies nowadays. There's no such thing as an original thought in Hollywood. So movies have to piggyback off of other ideas and such just to even find their footing. So sorry, I've got a couple of my kitties that are making a bit of a fuss here. They should get on their one fast cat wheel and run some energy off. So if you're ever needing something to relieve the energy for your kitties, definitely check them out. One Fast Cat. Their wheels are awesome. And so, but back to the review here on this. With the movie we're talking about today is about animals. Now, I had no idea what to expect about this movie. I didn't even look up trailers, so I was going purely off the poster. And the poster shows an elephant and a pig, and the title of the movie is called HitPig. And I'm like, okay, so is the pig like a hitman or something? When you go into it with zero expectations, you have no idea what to expect. So I had no idea if I was leaning high or low on this one. But I'm hoping that this review will help some people. Now, I'm going to actually surprise you. For this cartoon, I am giving this a guilty rating. And I will explain that here in a couple minutes. But HitPig is definitely getting a guilty rating. Score-wise, don't worry, I'm not forgetting about that. But I'm going to tell you the score as we get into this a little bit further. So, but with HitPig, on the poster it says the GOAT, so basically the GOAT greatest of all time, of finding lost animals as a pig. So it's not too hard to put two and two together that he's a bounty hunter. I'm referring specifically to HitPig himself. Well, so he used to do it with this other person that he used to help, and they used to go after lost animals and return them to their owners, or return them to their homes, or return them to the facilities where they were. That is where this movie very quickly gets on a very slippery slope. Is very soon into the movie, we are, taken in depth into an animal testing facility. Now, stuff like this just does not belong in kids' movies. Pardon me, I've just got to take a drink here for a second. My throat is just going crazy. My apologies on that. But like I said, it's just a very short thing into this movie that we see this animal testing facility. And mind you, some of the scenes that come from that are quite hilarious, but that is just the slippery slope where this movie starts to just get really, it's like, oh, why are they doing these things? Well, we could see kind of what happens there, and then we kind of get a little bit more of how HitPig is introducing himself. And he says this is his own description of himself. He's half James Bond, half Dr. Doolittle, and half Mandalorian. Now, he's fully aware that that's three halves, but that's how he describes himself. And it's just, there's just so many things where the movie kind of loses its footing even further. We see a nuclear power plant where they're doing even more testing with animals. And because some of the scenes from that are a little bit more than what you're going to expect. And that's kind of the animal testing I'm referring to. And like I said, there are some scenes of hilarity that come from that, but you can't get the other stuff out of your head. And then we see that, and we see how he is contracted to go find these lost animals and bring them home. Well, he gets contracted to go find this elephant, and she's escaped from this very barbaric type circus lifestyle. And she escapes from this, and she wants to get back to Asia. She wants to go home. And his job is to capture her and bring her back. The story itself, as this carries along through, the story itself has some merit. It's cute in places. I have to give this credit because this is one of the few cartoon movies that we have seen in quite some time that just has gratuitous violence, like old Looney Tunes style violence. So I am giving it credit for that because we just don't see enough of that anymore. Just in general, they're so worried about offending us that we don't really see a lot of that. But this movie kind of crosses a bunch of those different lines into, I mean, there's obvious inspirations from the Madagascar movies. There's a little bit of an inspiration from Zootopia. You're going to recognize it looks like a very familiar face. It's not the same person, but it's a very familiar face from Megamind. And then there's some things from some from The Incredibles, and you may be thinking, okay, this actually sounds like it's a good movie. That, like I said, it gets on a really slippery slope. We've got animal abuse in the circus industry, and to the point where it even shows like some of the things that are happening and some of the inhumane conditions in cartoon form, which is just wrong on so many levels. And then it has to, it doesn't have to, but it can't help itself. It has to insert a bunch of woke ideas and very progressive ideas into parts of the storyline. And you're like, but why is this happening? And even along the way, there's even some jokes that are not necessarily aimed at the younger crowds on this. And again, hence why I'm giving this a guilty rating. If you want your kids to watch this, that's fine. I did see this in the theater like everybody else. And when I did see this, there were some families with other young children there. And within about the first 10, 15 minutes of the film, most of them got up and left. There were two families, both with children, I'd probably say less than the age of 3. And they did stick it out, but their kids weren't paying a whole lot of attention to the movie. I think it was more for the adults' sake. But the ones that had kids in like the 5, I'd say, I don't actually know because I didn't stop and ask their ages, but I guess 5 to 8 years old, they were becoming quite upset at certain parts of this movie. And honestly, I don't blame them. It's not what you expect. I am expecting something like this to not be in the theaters very long. It's probably going to be out on instant video, probably before we know it. Score-wise, I was really debating on this score because I want to give it a lower score, but I have to stay true to the deputy scale. And staying true to the deputy scale, I'm coming in at a 4.5 out of 10. This one, there's a lot of this stuff that is downright watchable but forgettable. There's parts of this that are going to be quite disturbing that are not going to be forgettable for many people. And there's just other parts of this that are just unnecessary. Like I said, there are cute parts to this. There are parts that are downright funny. And like I said, I have to give it credit for the gratuitous violence. Just, like I said, we haven't seen stuff like that since the whole Wile E. Coyote Acme days with Looney Tunes. And so we see a couple scenes like that, and it's just, those are literally some of the moments that I smiled, like legitimately smiled while watching this. But the movie as a whole just, I don't think is strong enough to carry it for those few upticks in the story itself. So I'm hoping that this helps you a little bit, especially if you've got little ones. If this does appeal to you, feel free to check it out. Like I said, I'm not saying don't, but like I said, wait till it's on instant video. I mean, it's not bad enough to completely give it a 3 because there are those cute moments to the story. But like I said, I'm coming onto this at a 4.5 out of 10 on the deputy scale. So if you want the latest and greatest movie deputy content, you know which buttons to push. And as always, I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.